So today we will be making up close Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeers. We'll be using oil pastels and be talking about the art elements line, color, shape, and texture, as well as space and value. So we'll be covering a lot of different art elements today. We're going to go ahead and start by looking at our Rudolph nose. We want it nice and big in the corner. So we're going to be looking for some different values of red. And I'm going to go ahead and just start with my true red, and I'm going to get that right on the corner of my paper to make a nice almost rainbow shape, half of a rainbow. And whenever I am adding color to whatever it is I might be working on, I'm thinking about the contour line. That contour line is that outside edge. And if I follow the contour line, then it helps with texture and it helps the shape really stand out. Notice that I am really focusing on getting the shape and the line movement, but I'm not focused on trying to fill in all of the color space yet. We will work on that more and more as we go. I think I want that little corner rounded, so I'm going to try to round that out a little bit. And then I'm going to move to another kind of red, maybe a brownish red or an orangish red. And hopefully it's a little bit darker. I want that one to be at the very edges because I'm going to make it brighter as it goes towards the center. So I've got my dark red, I've got my medium red, and I wonder if I can find like a lightish red. Oh, that brown might add in a little bit more color, but maybe I could use like a pinkish red to just fill in that centerpiece and really make it pop. Now, the beautiful thing with oil pastels is there's all different kinds of ways to blend them and layer them. And today we're not really going to focus on blending our colors. We're going to focus on layering our colors. And when we use white on top of all of the other colors, it gives that appearance of blending without actually using a blending technique. So go ahead and take some white and go over the top of your Rudolph nose to get all of those colors to blend together. And this is really a layering technique. Now, because I want my red to be really red, I think I'm going to actually go back over it one more time and add some more layers of red. I have to say that using oil pastels is a really forgiving medium to use because you don't see mistakes that are layered underneath. You can keep adding layers of color and it will just make it more and more vivid. Okay, now we're going to move on to our reindeer, and I'm going to start with my lightest value of brown. And that is this one right here. I'm going to use it just to get that outside edge. So I'm going to go ahead and start right about here and pull my reindeer up and around like that. Okay. Nice big reindeer. I think I'm going to make sure I've got his ear on there. It's almost like a triangle shape, but I like to use a little bit of rounder lines. Notice that I made that line go in. It really doesn't matter at this point because we're not going to really see that later on. I want a little bit of my reindeer showing, or the antlers showing up, so I'm going to move my antlers a little bit lower here, just so you get the idea that there's a reindeer antler coming off the sides. And it's a lot like a tree where the branches just keep going off from each other. And I'm going to put a little corner here. Notice at this point it's all the same color. Okay. At this point, I'm going to try and decide where I want the eyes to go. And I really want him to have really fun eyes. So I'm going to take my brown, that same color, and just kind of figure out where I want the eyes to go. I'm going to put one eye right about here, nice and big. Another eye. On this one, because of the placement of it, it doesn't fit all the way on, which is fine because when we want something to look up close, parts of the image should be going off the edges to get that idea that it's too big for the piece of paper. And now at this point, I'm going to follow that contour line and just start filling in color. I'm not worrying about the values right now. I'm just getting that first layer of color built in. Now, when I've seen animals, the pattern of their fur or their hair, it goes up and away from the eyes, and then it goes down and away from the eyes. So I'm kind of trying to make that happen. And I don't want it to be too extreme. Oh, and then a reindeer kind of has that muzzle going off. That's where the nose goes off. So I'm going to kind of follow that line as well. Not too much, just a little bit. There we go. And you notice that I went too far down, so I just fixed it by changing the direction of my line. I'm following that line of the eye to kind of give a little bit more texture and a little more detail there. And I want all of those little hairs, all of those reindeer fur to go towards the nose. Then I'm going to come up here, fill out that space, and then finish it off with those contour lines following the outside edge. So some of my lines are going in circles, some of them are going up, depending on what part of the head I'm starting on. But they should just be overlapping each other quite a bit. Just right now, just with the lightest color brown, we already have quite a bit of texture. Now at this point, I need to do some of the ears, so I'm going to just fill in that very first layer. Please notice you can still see a lot of white here. We're just getting started. Now I'm going to go to, actually I think I'm going to go to my darkest brown, which is a really, really dark brown, and I'm going to think about where the shadows are. The shadows would be all the way on these outside edges of his face, because they're rounding off and going further back into the picture. So I'm going to use some of those deep brown colors. Oh, especially around the ears maybe. Oh, and right here along the edge of the ears where it hits the face, there's a little bit. I'm going to use that to kind of give that line between the ear and the face. I'm not adding too much too fast. I'm just adding little bits here and there. Also down around the eyes, there's quite a bit of shadow, especially if I want that muzzle to show up. And then over off to this side, I might add a little bit too. Definitely, I want the antlers to kind of look three-dimensional, so I'm just adding a few lines. I'm not worried about getting every single detail. I'm just getting a little bit of color on there. Let's add a little bit in there just to give that texture a little bit more. And then I might fill this in just to get a good brown color. Okay, now I'm going to go to my medium brown, and I'm going to fill in even more, and I'm going to let my colors overlap each other. So I'm going to let these colors in here overlap each other, and then down here, I think I want that to kind of go this way a little bit too. I can even go right on top of the red where my brown and my red touch each other. I kind of did like a triangle shape right there to kind of give the emphasis that the fur is going closer down. The cheek is kind of like a roundishness. There we go. I've got my round around the eye. Lots of round lines when we're coloring animals. Okay, and now for the ears, I wanted to really, I filled in, so I went from dark, right in the center, and then I've got this medium color, and then I want the lightest color to be at the tip of the ears to really catch the eye. I don't know if I want any real medium browns in the antlers. I kind of like them the way they are. Now, the fun part is now I take a very light color, like there's a peach color in here. Let's see if I can find it. I don't quite see that peach color. So what I'll use instead is I will go ahead and use that white again. And I'm going to take some white and just kind of go, oh, is that it? No. And I'm going to go over the top of it all. On top of all of the colors. And I'm still paying attention to where my lines are and how I want the lines to go. I'm still using that triangle line above the nose. And I'm going all the way into the red. I'm letting my colors overlap each other. There we go. Now he got really light, and I don't think I want my reindeer to be that light. So I'm going to go over it again with some of that brown and fill in more color. And let's see, I might even try this one right here. I'm going to use my finger a little bit to get the colors to blend. That's more true blending as when you're using that. Okay. Looking a lot more like a reindeer that I like. Now, it still looks a little ghostly. Oops, we forgot the ear. So let's go ahead back over that ear with the white. I'm following that contour line. There we go. Now, the big thing that's missing are the eyes. And the eyes make it, we have to fix that right away. Otherwise, he looks kind of a ghostly kind. So I'm going to use my white to fill in that space. And it's going to pick up some of the colors around it, which is just wonderful. Okay? And then I'm going to get my darkest color, that black, strong color. Whenever you're using oil pastels, if you are using black, then you want to use that one last. I almost never use black, just because it's such a strong color. Now I'm going to use a circular shape for that. And notice how I left the very center of my circle open. Now over here is trickier because it's going off the edge of the paper, so I'm going to have to pretend. It's a wise idea to have a piece of paper underneath. I did not do that, but you should do that. And if you didn't get that white spot in there, that's okay. I'm going to take a little bit of gray and fill it in. Or that silver, that makes him sparkle. He's got a twinkle in his eye that way. And then I'm going to fix that up a little bit by putting some more black over it. There we go. Now, my actual reindeer is all done. I really like how he's turned out so far. He's kind of a colorful one, isn't he? And what I do want to look at now is I want to think about the background. And I want to think about what color would really make my background pop. I'm going to use a little bit of this brown to connect all those colors. In fact, if you want to darken this up, you could use this color as the color to go over all of this stuff. There we go. Okay. I want to think about what would really make my reindeer pop. I'm going to look, and I think I want to use a blue. I think when I use the blue, it's really going to make the reindeer stand off of the paper. I don't like that quite circle shape, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the blue right on top of that little bit to give my reindeer nose a little bit more circle. And then carefully I'm going along the edge. Nice big strokes. And I'm filling out from here. Try not to change the direction of my line too much. When you go right along the edge of the ear, you have to change it just a tiny bit. But for the most part, you want it to follow the contour line as well. Again, you can still see white space, but that's okay. And then up here, I'm going to do the same thing. Try to keep all my lines going the same direction. It's really hard when you're doing the background because you just want to get the job done, but you have to think about the direction of the line in order to be more successful with that. Okay, let me get that last little bit. Remember that you can turn the paper any direction you need to get the job done. It does not have to stay in one position the whole time you're working. Now, if you want to jazz it up a little bit, you can use a lighter color blue and go right on top of it. And it'll give more depth and more color into your background. It will also fill in those extra spots. Just make sure if you do it down here, you do it up here as well, which is kind of harder, but you can still do that, and you don't have to be exact and get every single spot now that the first layer of color is there. You can even do one more layer on top of that. You can do another, like a bright blue or that sea green color. That's a great color. and just kind of blended it on top. I think I want to go with the sea green. Let's see what happens. Ooh, now we've got some brightness. There we go. And here we go. We've got our up-close Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer looking at us. He looks a little surprised, like maybe he got caught. Okay, enjoy.